Hello guys, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. This video we are going to talk about file upload. Actually not single file but rather multiple files upload with web API in Blazor WebAssembly project. Example is what you see on the screen. Now you can see you have the input file element. Now if I click on this, I can now select. So let's say I have these images that I want to upload. I can just select them. I can select only one. I can select multiple because you have a multiple file upload. Now as soon as I click on open, the file gets selected. And you can see we have the file name over here. And for security purpose, we've also changed the file name that we stored in the folder. And now the name here is called. So it gives it a random name that is over here as you can see. Okay, so in case maybe we don't want to keep the original name, we can now change or use a random number, random text to replace the name for security purpose in our application. So whatever image that the user uploads in our server, it's not going to be the same file name. We're going to change it and give it the name that we have specified or a random text. How do you do this in Blazor WebAssembly? That is what we are going to take a look today. So let's get going, but before that we have to create our WebAssembly project. Now when you create a WebAssembly project, you have the client section, that is the internet, the browser section. Aside from that, you have the server, that is the API section, and we have the library or the shared project, that is a model. So with this, they all come together to form the WebAssembly project. Now in this, we are just working using only the index components and the controller. Okay, so let's start and let's go through it one after the other. As you can see from here, now that is an index page. So index page, Solution Explorer, you go to, that is the client section and pages, and actually you have index page. So that is what you see here. Now we have the title over here, and that is a page directive. So this means that is a default page. As soon as the page loads, the application loads, this is going to be the first page load because of what we have here as a page directive. Now we have a page title, so that's the index. Now here we have an H1 saying please upload file. Okay, now you can see we have the file input element here. Now with this file input element, we have an attribute known as multiple. So this means that we can select more than one image. So that's what we have here. Okay, now the next thing to do here is let's skip this. We come back to this later on. We have, now you can see we have this input method element and we have this event. So when it's changed, when change occurred, we should call this method. So meaning we have to create a method for this, and that is what we have here. But before you create this method, we must specify some few things that you'll be needing in our method. The first one is you have to create a list of file names because you want to be added. Now you can see that here we can select multiple files, so we have to get a list of objects where these file names can be added. Now we have that, and now the long maximum file that we want. Here we are using the default one, so that's the long.max value. You can decide to set here to be 3. That is the size set to be maybe 1024 bytes or kilobyte and etc. You can specify that here. And also the number of files that you want to allow for multiple. Is it 3? Can the person select 3, 4, 5? It's over here, so we can specify that. But here we're using all the default ones as long.max value and integer or int.max value. Now aside from that, we create a list. That is an upload result. So when it gets uploaded into the folder, we create a list here where we can also store the list of the names of the files being uploaded. So we have two lists here, as you can see from this. Now here we have our model first. As you can see, we're going to create our model. Now with our model, you go to Solution Explorer. Now in the shared project, you see we have upload result. So we create our model, and now this model has two attributes: file name and stored file name. Now that's what we're going to use to hold the normal file name. So as you can see from here, that is the file name and this is the stored file name. So when we get the file uploaded, we give it a random name, and that's the stored file name. The name that the file came to our application with, that is the file name. So these are the two properties we stated in our model. These are the outputs. Okay, so once you have this our model, we move on to the same index, and now this is what we are doing. Now you see on input change, that is when this event is occurred. Now this event comes in with an argument, and that's the input file change event argument. We create an object out of it as E. Now with this, we are using the content. So we create a content here, and we set it as a multi-part form data content, meaning that this is going to be a form where we can submit. Now we look through. Like you see that the person can select more than one image, so we have to look through the file list and get a number of images selected and add it to the file name, because we have here as a list over here. So here we look through it, and now once you look through it, we specify the number of the maximum allowed files. Here we have the default one, so meaning the user can select any number of files the user wants. But in case we make it as 3, we can now check with the if condition. Now in case the number is more than that, we can return a text, or we can return a message to the user. But since we're having the default one, that is over here, we move on with it. So we create a file content, then we create a file content out of what stream content. We pass in the open read stream, then we pass in the file, the maximum file size as the default one. So here any file is accepted because we haven't specified any file size. Then we create a header with a content type, and we set this equal to a media type header value. We pass in the file content type. Now the file that is coming in here, it has a content type, so that's why we call the file content type, and we pass it into this method. Now once you are done, the file name that you created as a list, we are going to add the file name. So when you call these file names, we can have all the number of files that have been uploaded, their names over here. Then with the content, we add the file content, and we add the name and what the file name over here as well. So we look through this, then we set this content to each. Now when we are done, we have to create a controller, and we have to set this. But before we set this, now we have the file list in this file content, or this file name, okay, because we are adding the file name to this file names. So when you look through this, we can get the number of names or the number of files that the user has selected, and that's what we are doing it here. So you can see we are looping through over here as file name in file names. Then we display the file name and the stored file name. So by the stored file name, since we haven't created that, let's wait for it. So we display only the file name for now. Now here we just make a check that if the file name is greater than 0, then we can loop through them, meaning we have more than a file, then we can loop through and display the names over here. Okay, so the next thing to do here is, now we want to send this into, we want to upload the image into a folder, okay, because now for now, when we haven't posted to any of our controller, so when you select the user selected, it gets onto the browser, and that's all. But if you want to retain or store this image, that's why you have to save this into a folder. So how do you do it? We have to first set as using the post async. By this post async, before we can actually use that, we must import this. So that's why we are using HTTP client. Then we create an object out of this. Now this HTTP client here, we can get it from the system.net.http.headers. So that's why we are using it over here. Okay, now the reason why we have these models is because of our class or our model that we have actually created or we have added, that is over here, our upload result. So this is the model that we created over here, and in order to use it here, we need to include it over here. But although we can actually use it or include it in the import.razor, but for this simple video at stake, let's import it over here. Okay, so once we are done with this, now we post it to this as an API. Then there is a controller name. We post the content here because you can see that the content here contains the file content and the file, and then the file name. Okay, so we post everything to this API over here. Now, since it is a post async, we have to read. So we read it by creating a new object, that's a new upload result equal to await response.content.read from JSON async. Then we pass in the list because we are posting a list to this controller. Now we can actually check. So this is going to read the response. This is going to read the response from this response variable here. So when it reads, we want to check if it's equal to null, then we do nothing. But if it is not equal to null, then we set this upload results as the list that we created here. We append or we concat the new results coming in. We convert it to two lists. We append it to this new result, and that's all. Now the next one here is to get the stored file name, and that's the method that we actually see here. So to get the stored file name, so to do that, we create a new object here. This is a method. Now the name of the method is get stored file name. We pass in the file name. Now where can we get this file name? That is the file name that we get it over here. So if you check here, we have file names here, and this is a list, right? But you see from here we have file name. So this file name contains the particular file name. So that's why we pass it over here to get the file name. Now when you pass in this method, this parameter to this method, we're going to make a search out of this result. This upload results here contains the list. If you actually remember here, we have the list here. So it contains a list of these files. So we are going to go through and check if any of the file names is equal to the one that we pass in now, the current one. If it's not found or nothing found, we have to return this. But if in case something is found, then we return the file, its stored file name. Now when you go to our model, we search from this file name and we can get this file stored file name, okay, because they are in a row. So when you get this file name, we can get a stored file name, and that's exactly what we are actually doing it over here. So we pass through the file name to the method, we get the file name as an object, then we get its stored file name. Alright, so that is it for the index, a simple code to upload the image and send it to our controller. So the next left here is to create our controller. So let's go to Solution Explorer, and now within the server, right click on the controllers folder and create a new controller. And now the name of the controller I gave it to this is file controller. So that's the file controller, and since it's an API, you see we have the route and the attribute as API controller. Alright, so in order to access the path, okay, of this server, we have to pass in this iWeb host environment. We create an object, then we assign it over here. So meaning that when we call this, we can get the root content of this project here. That's the server project. Now we are posting. The user has to select the image and send. So it's a post. Now we are posting this to the controller. So in order to post it, the verb or the method here must be a post. So that's why we have the HTTP post here. Okay. Now with this post, we are going to return a list of these objects. Now this is a model that we created, and this model contains the file name and the stored file name. So we are returning the file name and the stored file name over here. So it is a list. We want to return everything in that folder, and we give it a name as upload file. Now the input that is coming in from the user, we create a list out of it as an iForm file, and we pass in files here. The reason why we have the iForm files here is, do you remember that when you get to the index, we have it over here as a multi-part form data content. So it is coming in as a form file, and that's why we have it over here. Now we create a list of this object as a class. We name it as upload results. Now the new list that we have created, we have to also loop through what is coming in here. So we loop through what is coming in from the user or from the client. Now whilst we loop through, the next thing that we do here is we create an object out of this model, and we create a variable for this. That's a trusted file name for file storage. We can give it the name here. And now this, we also have the untrusted. So you can see this is a string and this is the untrusted. So this is a variable and this is a string. So this is holding the file.file name. So the file coming in here .file name. So when you loop through each, the file name is being stored here. That's the untrusted file name. Now, as you can see from here, now we assign the untrusted file name to the file name of this object. That is the property found in the upload results model. Okay, so that's what you can see over here from upload results dot file name, because this is an object out of this model. So it means we are assigning the various properties to this. So that the file name is equal to this untrusted. Now with the trusted, we create another object, another variable, trusted file name for display. And I will send this to this web utility.html encode /untrusted, and that's the untrusted file name we pass into that. Now the next thing here is we get the random file name. As you can see from here, that's a random file name. You can see the name of this and this is different. So each is different, and that is this method that is working that. So you can see this is getting a new file name, and we store it as this variable that we stated here. We call, or we find the path. So the path is equal to, we combine this hosting a content root path, that is the content root path, to the server, then a folder called upload folder. So you can see we have to create a folder in the server and name it as upload folder, and that is it over here. Then you pass in the trusted file name that you want to store. The trusted file name here, it is the random name. So this random name is the trusted file name, because if you check here, trusted file name is equal to this get random file name. So the new file name that we have created, that is what we are passing it over here. When we are done, we pass it to the stream, then we create it, then we copy it to the stream, then we are done with that. Now the next thing to do here is we store the stored file name is equal to this trusted name for file storage. Now remember that the untrusted file name is equal to the file name, and now this trusted file name is equal to the stored one. Okay, so it means the stored one, when you go to this model, the stored file name and the file name each is going to be populated as soon as it loops through each file and send it or create it or upload it into this folder. When we are done, the list that you created here, that is a list, we add this upload list to it. Then we return, because here it is waiting for a list, so we can't return a single, so we must return the list. So after adding everything over here, because it's going to loop through one after the other, so the number of files the user selects is going to loop through them. After that, it's going to add them to the list here and return the list over here. Okay, so when you call this method, it means we is going to send the file or the images that the user has uploaded into the folder. Alright, so you can see this is very simple thing that we are doing over here, and that is it. So here, let's save this and let's try to run the application, and let's see. So let's run this application again once we get it saved. So Ctrl+S, let's save this, and let's save the index as well, and let's see. So you make sure we create a new folder here, and the name here is the upload folder. So let's open it. Now if I open it, let's see what we have here. Alright, so you have these files. Now let's try to delete these files from the folder. now this folder contains nothing, no file. Let's try to upload. So click on choose file, and I'm not going to upload this anymore. Let's go to images and let's go for bet. Let's try to upload this 4 images. Click on upload or open. So it's going to loop through them one after the other and set the name of this as a file name, and set the random name given to this image as a stored file name. It's going to store that into the folder. Open. Now you can see we have the list over here, and each has a random file name. Now let's go to application and see. So when you open our folder, you see we have the same 4 files over here. We can compare. The first one is .byi. Now let's see here .byi, as you can see from this, and kqn. Let's see kqn over here. So meaning that whatever file that you have here, that is not the same thing we see it on the screen. Alright, so you see this is very simple. Now our next video we talk about how do you download these files. How can you download these files when they are uploaded? How do you upload them? And also to save them to the database. You know, when we upload image like this, the user can keep on uploading this several times, because each time it's uploads, let's add another one. Each time it uploads, it's going to create it and I'll add it to the same list, as you can see. So we have uploaded the image twice. Okay, so in order to handle this, we must store the information of these files into the database. So when we upload, we can actually make a check and see if the file already exists using the file name. If it already exists, we can tell the user the file already exists, or we can delete the old one and now upload the new one to their application. Okay, so let's talk about how to download files in the next video. So I believe this is clear. I also send the link. I'll leave this video, the code at the GitHub page, and I'll send a link under the description of this video. So in case you want to grab the code, it's going to be available as well. They can just grab it. Thank you guys for watching. I believe this is clear. Subscribe as well to this channel for more videos like this. See you guys in the next video.